Today's video is all about Scarlet and Violet illustration rares, and in particular, why some of them command such, I suppose, for lack of a better word, astronomical prices, considering how easy they are to pull as a PSA 10. So why are some of them worth so much as a PSA 10 when their pull rates are so low? Now let's delve into a couple of things. First of all, what are their pull rates? For the most part, an illustration rare from Scarlet and Violet, some or most of the early sets, the pull rates are 1 in 13, or it seems to be roughly 1 in 13. And some of the most difficult sets, about 1 in 16. Some of the specialty sets, like Paldean Fates, around about 1 in 14. But general rule of thumb, like it's somewhere around 1 in 13 to 1 in 16 for any illustration rare. Now, transfer that, of course, to any specific illustration rare, and it's going to depend on the volume of illustration rares inside the set. Now, to give you a bit of context, a special illustration rare in the easiest sets, like say Obsidian Flames or Scarlet and Violet Base, pull rates are about 1 in 32. In some of the hardest sets, like Temporal Forces and Twilight Masquerade, pull rates are about 1 in 86 for a special illustration rare. Now, again, depending on the volume of special illustration rares, that's going to change for any specific, or the odds of pulling any specific special illustration rare. Like the odds of pulling, say, Greninja out of Twilight Masquerade around, 1 in 800 to 1 in 900. So, long story short though, illustration rares aren't the most difficult card to pull. To give you some context on what it roughly compares to, a regular trainer gallery card from Sword and Shield era, whether it's Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, Lost Origin, or Silver Tempest, generally was about 1 in 12. We're talking just general ones, like pulling the Flareon, Vaporeon, or Jolteon from Brilliant Stars, like pulling the Gengar or Charizard from Lost Origin. So it's extremely close. The Vs and VMAXs had harder pull rates in the trainer galleries, but just a regular card, like the Gengar or the Charizard, from Lost Origin, about 1 in 12. So it's extremely similar pull rates for an illustration rare and a regular trainer gallery. Now, if we compare the prices of some of them, we get a massive discrepancy, particularly, and that gets, I suppose, multiplied, particularly when we transfer some of these to a PSA 10 price. And the question is, why is that? And I think it comes down to a pretty simple explanation. It's probably multifactored. Maybe it has something to do with the artwork. Maybe it has something to do with the Pokemon. That's probably a stretch. But I think the main reason is the pull rates. Now, to give you an idea, let's have a look at, let's jump into Twilight Masquerade. So the PSA 10 conversion rate for the whole set so far for every submission sent to PSA is 58%. So that is total cards sent through versus cards that returned as a 10. 58% of them returned to customers as a PSA 10. Now that's actually pretty high for Scarlet and Violet era, because I'm going to go through some other sets in a moment, and it isn't that high. Now, this is still lower than pretty much all Sword and Shield sets. To give you an idea, sets like Darkness Ablaze was low 70s, like 72% return rate for PSA 10s. Even Evolving Skies is in the mid to high 60s as a return rate for PSA 10s. So if you look at Twilight Masquerade, and a pretty solid illustration rare, or arguably the most solid illustration rare, the Eevee inside there, it has spot on a 58% conversion rate to get a PSA 10. So the same average as what the total set does. That card's worth $125 in a PSA 10 for a card that roughly has about a 1 in 14 pull rate shot. That's pretty big dollars. To give you some context behind that, the strongest trainer gallery cards, or standard trainer gallery cards, not Vs and VMAXs, because they have different pull rates, but the ones I was talking about before where the pull rates are about 1 in 12, like Gengar and Charizard from Lost Origin, they go for, I think Charizard's the most expensive at $73. I think Gengar's TCG player current price is about $56. The majority of regular trainer gallery cards in a PSA 10 go for like $20 to $73, which is the Charizard at the absolute top. So some of these cards are commanding higher prices, and maybe it's the flavor of the month. Maybe Scarlet and Violet's in at the moment. Maybe the graded population needs to grow some more as more and more product gets open. There's probably a lot of reasons for it, but one of the main ones I think, is that PSA 10 conversion rate. Now, to go into another one, right, let's jump into Paradox Rift. And this is probably almost the most expensive card from the set now, and that's the Groudon. But Paradox Rift has a 50% PSA 10 conversion rate. That's pretty average in the grand scheme of modern cards. And if you look at Japanese cards, by the way, they have like an 85% PSA 10 conversion rate. But anyway, the Groudon itself has a 52% PSA 10 conversion rate. Its current PSA 10 price, $176 for a card that has about a 1 in 13 pull rate. Like, that's I suppose the confusion there, 1 in 13 multiplied by, the total number of illustration rares. And there's a lot in Paradox Rift. But there's also a lot of trainer gallery cards. Anyway, another one. Now, this might really surprise you. Obsidian Flames. It seems to have the worst quality control of any Scarlet and Violet set so far. 34% PSA 10 chance. And have a look at this card. The Scizor from Obsidian Flames, which is a nice card, but not worth much at all as a raw example. I don't know how much it is. Is it $4, $6, $8? It's got to be under 10. It has a 20.7% chance of becoming a PSA 10. That's an incredibly low conversion rate. Its PSA 10 price, $115. And we can't say that Obsidian Flames hasn't copped a lot of PSA submissions, because it's up around like 70,000 PSA submissions to PSA. So it's not a low-graded set. That's more PSA submissions than Astral Radiance. Now, another one I wanted to compare with, and this is, I suppose, the cream on the top to drive home the point, is Paldea Evolved. It had a 39%, or it has currently a 39% PSA 10, I suppose, opportunity or chance from all submissions. Again, that's pretty low, particularly compared to every Sword and Shield set. Now, the number one chase card from the set, that Magikarp, yes, it has beautiful artwork and, it deserves the price it commands, but it only has a 22.8% chance of receiving a PSA 10. That gives it a whopping price of $564 as a PSA 10. Imagine and it's literally got the same, it's a regular illustration rare. 1 in 13 chance, not of pulling that exact card, but any illustration rare, which is the same pretty much as a regular trainer gallery, 1 in 12, yet it commands a price of $564. That's crazy, isn't it? Like, I don't even know how to put in words how much that sort of baffles me. But I guess the point it shows is when we get poor quality control inside Pokemon cards, sometimes it almost helps the set a little bit. I mean, what if it had the Japanese PSA conversion rates and we're up around 85%? Would that mean as many people would want to open Paldea Evolved to chase that Magikarp and then also send it off to grading to possibly get that 10 that's worth $564, which is pretty much 5 times the price of the booster box? That's where the gamble comes from. That's where the chase comes from. That's where the want for people to open these boxes comes from. When we're talking investing as a whole, and I'm going a slight bit off topic here, that's going to be the future of investments. That's going to be the future that's driving the price. That's going to be where the demand comes from. There's going to be demand for people to want them, that is, booster boxes, as sealed products to have as part of their collection, but predominantly people will want that thrill of the chase. That's why Evolving Skies is still getting opened and bought like crazy, because there's so many cool hits, big chase cards inside there that people want to try and pull. That's human behavior. It's what people try and do. So it'll be interesting to see what happens throughout the rest of Scarlet and Violet era. But I just wanted to, show you or highlight just how strong some of these illustration rares are performing as PSA 10 copies. And a lot of that can be put down to a lot of factors like I mentioned, but one of the main ones is just how hard they are to grade as a 10. It really boosts up the price of them. Anyway, I'm Michael. This is Pokeologist. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch everyone next time.